Hey guys, it's Spacey Sims, and we are back with another build for the My Little Pony update. What I am starting today, I'm sorry this sounds like completely ridiculous, what I'm starting today in this episode is the Cloud House for Rainbow Dash. So this will be an entire house. So I am just kind of working, so you'll get to see kind of how I did the little version of it in the Ponyville that we're kind of using for the LP. Obviously that we're not going to be using anymore. So there is a bit where it does get cut off a little bit, and it doesn't like totally line up because this was just giving me so much problems. And you know, I was kind of doing this and trying to get rid of the fencing, and there comes a point where I can't actually, I don't know if I actually just redid the video or just redid the fencing and then fixed it afterward, but there's kind of a point where I couldn't get rid of some of the fencing, and then it wasn't lining up right, and it was just driving me crazy. And I eventually figured out how to get the curved patios to work for me instead of against me, so that it would actually treat it as one huge patio area, and we wouldn't have to worry about, oh, there's some fence left over. Because if you saw if you've watched the LP at all, and you saw the Cloud House that was in the original Ponyville that I made where all the girls were living together, there's a couple places where like the railing I couldn't delete it. So I was like, oh, okay, well I can't delete the railing, and we'll just put some like a planter there or whatever to cover up and hide it or whatnot. And that wasn't gonna work in this. That wasn't gonna fly for me because this is such a big build. So I eventually did figure out, with this, it's kind of a lot easier if you put down a small area and then you delete the fence, and it'll get rid of all of it, and then you put down another piece, and you just kind of have to work going small. And you know, as you can see that I'm trying this a million times, adding like these patios, and it's just so difficult because the rounded patios are really hard to work with, especially because I'm not doing it like, oh, I just want to have a little rounded area around a house. Like, I need this to have like a cloud shape. It's got to have that fluffy, like asymmetrical rounded areas to kind of look like a cloud. That's the whole purpose. So it was kind of difficult just getting it to play nice with me, but eventually did get it, and it lined up perfectly, because there's certain areas where you can kind of see in this, like in some of the areas when we go, like it doesn't look like it's totally lined up. There's a little bit of a gap. It's not a smooth, perfect rounded area, I guess, like quote unquote cloud, because I can't say like circular area because it's not a circle, obviously. When we're done, it's all sorts of weird shapes. So it wasn't originally laying right, but I did end up finally getting it. It lays perfect. It's not, it's an awkward kind of shape because it doesn't quite come out the size of the lot, kind of like I wanted it to, like what I've been trying to do here to make it as big as possible. But I kind of I had to work with, you know, however it would sit so that I could get it like to look right and not have little gaps where it's not lined up, or, you know, have places where the railing is still there. But so I did end up figuring it out, which was good, because you can see that like this is my trial and error, and a lot of it is error, up until I finally figured out how to make them work for me. I wish I could tell you right now what I did, but I can't even remember. But yeah. And I don't think I actually have the right thing when I did it the right way and got it to work right. I don't think I have that like totally recorded, because I had recorded so much and was doing all these different layouts and messing with it and playing with it and trying to do all this, and it was just, oh god, it just wasn't working out at all. But I think, you know, it kind of just left like the nice, because I already had it like recorded and everything was done, and I was just so frustrating that I was like, well, let me just try something. And I tried it and it worked, and I was like, okay, well, I didn't record that because I'd done this like 10 times. It felt like I mean, and I'd actually, yeah, because I don't think this lets me delete like all of the fence. So there's certain areas of fence that it just won't let you delete, and then it like won't and I wanted it all deleted. Like, I didn't even want it around the edging, you know. And then there's areas where, okay, this isn't a room, and now it's not this, but you know, I did end up getting it so it treated like the entire area as one big patio, not separate sections of each. And we're like, oh, okay, now I've got to, if I want to change the floor tiles, I have to change it in 6 parts because it counts as like 6 different pieces. You know, so that was, it did work out eventually, but oh man, did this give me trouble right off the bat. And yeah, I'm not like deleting the outside edging because like you see, like it wouldn't delete certain areas of the fencing, and it's like, that's so not helpful. I need that to delete. Like, I can't have this here. So this was just, it gave me so much trouble, as you can see. Just trying to get it, because I was like, okay, well, and I actually, yeah, so, and I was also having trouble where certain areas wasn't considered the patio, and I couldn't get it to like fill in that, and it's like, I can't, how come I can't move this and like treat that as part of the patio, one or the other? Like, it wouldn't work. And I eventually did, I think, get it, but it was like just ridiculous what I had to do. I do really like the fact though that Spa Day came with all these walls and floors that look like clouds. Like, so I'm like, that is like just perfect timing for doing this cloud house, because, you know, yeah. And then originally, totally just jumped from one topic to another. But no, I really like that because it really worked, like, because I love that flooring. It really looks like a cloud, and it adds to that effect, which I really, you know, obviously was going for. And I really wanted it, I was trying to get it to be like as slightly rounded house, but still in a very square shape, just because I didn't want to deal with, you know, having too much like to deal, like having to do a floor plan that's really awkward and strange. They ended up with a floor plan that's extremely awkward and strange, and it's mostly angles. So yeah, so I had to get really, really creative with the decorating. So I haven't quite done all of it though. So at the point where I'm dubbing this, I did do the kitchen, and that's, you can imagine, the toughest, because you're trying to put counters and stoves and everything on angles. There's no flat walls for this. So it's like, oh my god. But yeah, so it's definitely, it's different. Oh, you can see here, we kind of jumped into, it kind of just like cut out because I kind of had stopped it. I was having so much trouble, and then I kind of started trying something with it, and then it ended up working for me. So this is like where I'm actually, I think, adjusting the patio and getting it to work. So you have to do it piece by piece. So, you know, you add this piece of the rounded patio, you know, and I think I ended up deleting the entire house part because the house ends up looking totally different anyway. And then you delete the fencing, and then you know, cover the floors, because now it's treated as like part of it. So it flows nicer. So then you do the next piece, and then you just keep doing it that way. And that's pretty much the only way to get it to work, is piece by piece. So so you can see, like, I lay down a piece, lines up perfectly, you know, you delete the fencing on it, and then it joins it to the rest of what's already existing, which was already working and laid, and it, like, the corners are perfect, it's rounded perfectly. It's not where, like, in certain places where it just wasn't lining up right, and like it just like the curved edges, it wasn't like blending into, I can't really explain it without showing you, but unfortunately I don't have any like of that looks like that, but it just didn't have like the curve. So like here, all the curves kind of end, and like where that point ends inside, it comes perfectly out, and it adds that perfect angle. And there would be parts where it would just, like, that curved part would then come out, and it just wasn't connected. So it looked like there was like a little tiny slice cut out, basically, and it just wasn't working. This side gave me the most trouble, you know, because I'm trying to now join it to what's existing and make sure that it flows nice and it keeps that nice shape, which was just not, it just didn't want to go and work with me. And so I was having a little bit of difficulty getting it to continue the flow, because I had worked obviously so hard to try to get it in the right shape, and then it wasn't the right shape and it wasn't working, and then, you know, I had to redo it, and then I finally got the flow, like how this is supposed to work from piece to piece, and then it wasn't like, then I'm like, okay, now I have this corner, how am I going to link one side to the other, you know? I do end up actually getting it. Takes a bit of work, obviously, as you can tell. It's like taking forever, but again, that's the problem with the rounded patios when you're trying to make clouds. It doesn't always work as well as you'd like, and which is exactly the problem that I'm finding like right now. So I keep changing the size. I make it wider, make it smaller, make it wider, you know, and you know, just trying as best I can to just kind of get it, and having to undo, because otherwise you just kind of mess up the patio and then it really doesn't work. And I think this is the point where I just kind of like I didn't realize that, like, I stopped and was like, all right, let me think of this, let me think again, like, because I kept stopping and redoing it. I mean, you saw on the other part, like, it was just so difficult trying to get it to work with me, but yeah, so, and I'm kind of trying, and I'm trying to think. I don't think I left it with that little bit of a, you know, that line area there. I don't think I left it like that. I think it actually like flows a little bit better, because that is like not, like, I want it to be like one complete piece, and it wasn't like, you know, it just wasn't working with me. And then you can't do this here, and it's like, oh my god, like, it's killing me. This whole house is killing me. It really did. I mean, this was the most, I think, difficult thing that I've done, because in the smaller, I thought it would be a lot easier because it's such a big scale, and it would just be easier to make the rounded porches flow, than it was doing the smaller scale one for Ponyville, for the old build. That one was actually, I would say, a lot easier. Like, it did not give me half as much trouble. It wasn't nearly as stressful doing it. But like this one, it was so much more difficult. I would have really thought that large scale would have been a lot easier to do and build, but it really, really wasn't. So you can see here where we're starting to get that odd, like, shape, because it was the only way it would work, and I really wanted it to come out further, so we used more of this front corner area, but it just wasn't gonna work with me there. And you can see here, like, that kind of area where I put that tiny little rounded porch, where it's making that weird, like, it's not lined up and it looks like the parts of the cloud are cut out. And that's what I had in the other one on, like, certain edges, and I did not want that. So I ended up fixing it. So this, I think, is actually how it works out. But you can see, like, it's a odd-shaped, I mean, clouds are odd-shaped anyway. They're not all round, perfectly round. But I wanted it to come out a little bit further, so we can use a little bit more of the space and utilize as much as possible. But that's not how it worked. So, yeah. And then I ended up deleting the building and then just completely putting, like, a new one. So it's a lot of weird angles and strange shapes. But it is going to be, like, pretty much open concept. I think that was just a little bit easier than trying to make this, you know, trying to make it, like, individual rooms, just because it is so weird and funky and strange shaped when we actually get down to it. And I think that is actually a part later where I actually do the actual build for the actual structure of the house, because I'm not sure exactly what the layout looks like, because I wanted it to be, like, as straight as possible, but then at the same time when I did it and I was looking at it, I'm like, yeah, but you know what, it's a cloud house and it's supposed to be kind of rounded and it should look like clouds, not like, okay, so if you're looking at it from top down, it looks like a house on a cloud. I wanted it to look, you know, as rounded and, you know, and utilize as much of the space, you know, as possible in the cloud, like, you know, so I still want them to be able to walk around outside and everything, but I wasn't trying to build it like, oh, we have a ton of space, because that's what's going kind of on the underneath space. Underneath, obviously this is floating because it's a cloud house and you can't have a cloud house not floating. So underneath is where a lot of, you know, the stuff can go on, and I do actually have that. I believe that's the next part of this is going to be the, you know, kind of downstairs kind of build, where you get to see some of the landscaping down there. Because this is for Rainbow Dash. Scootaloo does live with Rainbow Dash now, so I did add that factor in. I kind of forgot when I was building the house because originally I just made it and there was like room for one. And I was like, oops, because it was going to be kind of like a studio kind of loft area. But I did end up building a second floor onto it for like a open loft area, kind of like bedroom and bathroom and everything. So they'll just have to share a sleeping area. But yeah, so and then we did cut because I was kind of like trying to add the roof and everything on. And I do end up changing this because originally, like I said, this was just going to be one story, and I just built the kind of columns up to just add it so dimensions so that we had like extra area of like clouds, you know, because clouds aren't just one layer, they go up. That sounded real technical. But you know what I mean? Like I wanted to give it that dimensional effect. So I kind of wanted to just add some of the little like columns and pillars kind of up top with the roof style just to kind of give it that effect. And then, you know, when I realized, oh, we need extra room because we're going to have like a bedroom for, we have to have 2 Sims living here. And I kind of forgot about that. I did end up adding a second floor. So there is a second story. So this will end up being, and I don't think I actually, you know, I really don't remember, but I don't think I actually got this build of the second story on tape. So like this one just gave me so much hassle, like trying to building the cloud and everything, that when I was like making like adjustments, sometimes I'm like, you know what, nope, whatever. I'm just gonna slap it together and like do it quick and not do it on a build, just because it was so difficult and just so, you know, it's just so hard trying to get the build or whatever, you know, to work out right, getting that shape. So I kind of just was like, you know, we fumbled along enough. You know, so yeah, the roof line does change a lot because I do put that second story in there. And I have to adjust, obviously, all the different little roof places to fit better. And I don't actually remember if I changed them. I might have actually made the roofs like a blue. I might have left them white. I don't remember. Actually, no. You know what? I did. I think I left them this gray tone. They look like rain clouds. And I think I made the walls like a blue color or whatever. I don't really remember. But yeah, so I do change this so the you know, the silhouette of the house does look a little bit different, but it still has the same kind of roof line and everything. It just has a second story. So we will eventually obviously see that, and then when I decorate, you'll be able to see that. So I am sorry that I didn't, you know, have that in the build or anything, because I kind of just did it as an afterthought and, you know, just added it, and, you know, just with how much trouble the patios gave me. You know, you don't really get to see. There's some stuff cut out, like just me fighting with it, but yeah. So I think I do end up changing the walls because this was just so glaringly white. I think I ended up changing the outside, but I'm not 100% sure because, you know, it's glaringly white. It's glaringly white. It's a cloud. It does look really pretty on the sunset, though, doesn't it? I like it. And I was just trying to find windows, and I think I actually used windows that have like blue. Yeah, those ones. So they're like blue and white because I'm like, hey, that's kind of cool. And I just kind of slap them all willy-nilly all over the place. There's no logic. It's a cloud house. And then I kind of I wanted to put like, obviously it needed a door, so. And that kind of defined that kind of back area is more the front door, because I kind of wanted this, you know, you're walking by in the neighborhood and you don't need to see the front door. You're just going to see those windows and stuff like that. So, yeah. And I think I obviously added windows and I made that thing. But then that's really cool because that's like, you know, helps me define, you know, how I'm going to do the downstairs by where the cloud goes. But it really looks like a cloud shape. So I was actually quite happy with that. But again, like I said, I do change some things. So we will see that down the road. But I will probably leave this part here, and we will jump into it next time and get some of the landscaping. So I hope you guys enjoyed the Cloud House Part 1. I will see you guys next time. Remember, give the video a big thumbs up, subscribe to see more.